What's up everybody, Tam here, and today we're going to talk about blocking in the card game UFS, or the Universal Fighting System. There are many complex mechanics involved with blocking that we're going to dive into, but I'm not going to talk about when you should block or which blocks to use. This video is strictly on how to block, like the name suggests. Let's get to it. Blocking in UFS is made to protect your vitality from falling to zero and losing the game. Cards that can be used for blocks have a shield in the top right corner. Cards without this shield cannot be used for a block, unless card text says so. Also, blocks can only be played from the hand. Once again, card texts break these rules. There are 3 attack zones in UFS: high, mid, and low. High attacks are represented with a red arrow pointing high. Mid attacks are orange and their arrow is horizontal. And lastly, low attacks are yellow and are aimed low. And thankfully, all of our block modifiers match placement and color. Any successful block on a matching zone is considered a full block. If your block zone is 1 zone away and the block passes, it's called a partial block. But if you're trying to block an attack that's 2 zones away, you can't. High blocks can't block low sweeps, and vice versa. This is where things get a bit complex, so please do your best to keep up, and I'll try to make it as straightforward as possible. When attempting to block an attack, a few numbers come into the equation to see if you're able to pass the check for that block or not. The first number we need to know is how fast the attack is. This number is speed. It can be found here. The next number that will matter is the block modifier. This is the number inside the shield, here. Next is your progressive. The more cards you have in your card pool, the harder your check will be. For every card in your card pool, progressive difficulty goes up by 1. And the last number as well, the check. There are cards that can affect this number as well as numbers on all the cards and game areas I mentioned. Now let me take you through a block step. Your opponent has played the attack Cowboy Battery. Their first enhance is to add a card into your card pool. Your enhance is to flip a face-up foundation with spike 1 to reduce the speed of Cowboy Battery from 3 to 1. Your opponent pays 1 vitality to reduce the check of your next attack card by 1 using Most Trusted Assassin. You pass on your enhance. Your opponent passes on their enhance. Now, we go to the block step. You attempt to block with Phase Cover Fire, which has a 3+ high block. So our math is 1, the speed of the attack, plus 1, the number of cards currently in your card pool, plus 3, the block modifier on your blocking attack card. You need to check a 5 or better to pass your block. Now, make your check. So we checked a 4. But because of the effect of Most Trusted Assassin, we actually checked a 3. We have the choice to commit 2 foundations in our staging area and fully block this attack, or not and fail blocking the opponent's Cowboy Battery. After a block has been successfully played, but before we take damage, we have a few windows to respond with some keywords or effects. One of the big ones is Breaker X. Now I say X because of the effect which says our card pool. After you block with this card, the next card your opponent attempts to play this turn gets plus X difficulty. Note, Breaker does not affect block math at all, because Breaker affects the difficulty of a card, not the block modifier. But if you block a card after a Breaker was used, the Breaker will be applied to the card used after a block. Here's a small example to help. Your opponent plays the attack Ken's Hadoken. You full block with a Cormorant applying the block math and responding with Breaker 2. You respond and play Kersplat as a reversal. Your opponent blocks your Kersplat with an Iron Knuckle. Your opponent plays Explosive Acrobatics on a 3 difficulty because the increase in difficulty was applied to the Iron Knuckle used as a block. Another example of response you can do after the block was just shown in my example. Reversal. Reversal is a keyword that says our hand, play this card as a reversal. After your opponent's blocked attack resolves, add this attack to the attack stat. This can be a very game-changing response, but can be a double-edged sword, so be careful. After our block, we have to see how much damage we're going to be taking. Like I said, if you block a high attack with a high block, it's called a full block. On a full block, you take 0 damage. On a partial block, you take half the damage of the attack rounded up. The big shakeup to this game rule is the throw keyword. This keyword states as a static effect, if your opponent completely blocks this attack, it still deals half damage rounded up. Before we move on, there is a difference between dealing damage and losing vitality. Paying vitality or an effect being burned does not count as dealing damage, but does count as having lost vitality. So cards like Templar's Justice and A Debt to be Paid work similarly, but different. So we have most everything in terms of blocking in UFS, but there are a few key points that don't really fit into the other categories. They are, statics can affect the game wherever they want, from Flame Aura making the speed of an attack 0, or Woodman's Leaf Shield increasing your block modifier by 1. Statics are very easy to overlook or mistime, so go slow and read your cards. Also, cards played as block lose their identity. Here's what I mean. The card Stolen Sword says that after you play a weapon foundation, you may build it. Well, if you block with a Stolen Sword after using the enhance on a Stolen Sword in your staging area, the card doesn't move, because the card is no longer a foundation. It's now a block, but it's still a foundation card. Here is where the opposite is true. The card Most Trusted Assassin states that the next attack card you play this turn has -1 to its check. Most Trusted Assassin says the word card, so even when attempting to block with an attack card, the check is still reduced. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you so much for supporting the channel enough for us to produce this kind of content. We've been wanting to teach mechanics like this for a while now, and we finally found a format I think we can agree on. If you'd like to leave a comment on what our next crash course is over, please do so below. We will respond to any and all ruling questions about blocking as well. So from all of us here at UFS University, stay learned.